Good afternoon, everybody. It's Dr. Heather Denniston with the Junk You Should Know Show, and today we are going to be talking about ring theory. And if you don't know what this is, you are going to want to know because you, if you have not already, will be in a position of coming around someone who is ill or someone who is caretaking for someone who is ill, or you will be the ill person, or you will be the caretaker taking care of someone who is ill. And so this is genius. I wish I could say I invented it myself, but I didn't. The ring theory comes from Susan Silk and Barry Goldman, and we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. When you sign on, please say a big hello. Please type in the comments where you're from. I would love to see where the show's getting out to, and please share that with me when you join in. So a couple of things. We just finished our Minutes of Movement challenge, which was the best challenge I've ever done. It was so much fun, and you guys were so enthusiastic and posting your pictures and all of that. It was great. Hi, whoever just checked on, please let me know who you are, where you're from, by noting that in the comments. But the Minutes of Movement challenge, there was about 70 people who went through it, and it was super awesome. And I would love to do some more challenges. I'd love to know what kinds of challenges you guys are looking for. I don't mind putting them together. So let me know. We should get one going for later in the spring. And I think that would be really great. It was a fun community thing to do with the Well Fit and Fed community. The show, The Junk You Should Know Show, is sponsored by The Change Cave. And The Change Cave is a 12-module online learning institute geared toward women over 40 wanting to up their wellness game. It is 12 modules, weekly newscasts, monthly mindsets, expert presenters, tons of community support, and it's awesome. And it's only $29.99 a month, and you can cancel at any time. So please do click through the link below to check it out and see if it's for you. We would love to have you join our happy tribe of wellness seekers, and I would just be tickled to come alongside you and help you reach your wellness goals. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we are talking about ring theory today. As many of you know, I and my sister Cynthia and my sister Jenny were with my mother in her final 10 weeks of life. She got diagnosed with very late stage cancer, very late. And so my sister and I moved in with her and nursed her through 10 weeks of rapid decline. And just when we would think we'd got a handle on things, things would change. And we were with her when she passed on April 27th, 2 years ago. That date is coming up. And so I thought this actually would be a great subject. I've actually wanted to do it for a long time, but I kind of just didn't feel ready to go through it. But now I feel really ready to go through it because I think it is so helpful for those who find themselves not knowing what to do in these kinds of situations. When you are a friend or a family member who's a little outside the circle, how do you make those folks who are struggling at bedside feel comfortable and supported, right? It's a conundrum. Give me a thumbs up if you have been in this situation before of just not really knowing what to do. We're going to talk about it. So when my mom was ill, my sister and I, hi, whoever just signed on, please say where you're from and whether you've ever found yourself in a situation of needing to support someone who is either ill or caring for the ill, and you didn't know what to do, because that's what we're talking about today. So when my mom was ill, my sister and I decided to go through her address book and start calling people and telling them what was going on. And I reached this one friend of hers who she hadn't been in touch with in a little while, but not that long. And I got her on the phone and I said, such and such, you may not have heard, but my mother has been diagnosed with terminal cancer. She only has a few weeks to live. It would be so amazing if you could get on the phone with her or even make the drive to visit. And there was a long pause, and here's what she said. Oh, Heather, I just don't see that happening. I've got 20 people coming over this weekend for a big party, and you just cannot imagine what it's like to entertain this particular group of people. It's very difficult. And so I just don't know that that's a phone call or something like that's going to fit into my schedule. And so, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. And I was stunned into silence, which doesn't happen very often. And then she went on about something to do with a tricky broccoli casserole, and I'd had enough. So I quickly got off the phone. But she was such a great example of choosing words when you're talking to somebody who is close to the person who's ill, who's probably very tired, probably feels awful, who's in a ton of pain emotionally. Some things that this gal might have chosen to say differently is what we're going to be talking about. So my friend Heather Sherwin, many years ago, and some of you tuning in who are from the Issaquah area might remember lovely, lovely Heather Sherwin. She had colon cancer. She fought and fought and fought and did not make it. And in the final weeks for her, I was visiting her and we were laughing, which was wonderful. We were laughing about a book she was handing out to people that was called How to Be Around Someone with Cancer. It was a book because this is a problem. People don't know what to do. So it was How to Be Around Someone with Cancer. And in the book was this ring theory. There was a section on it. And it is so simple, but it blew my mind. And so that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. So Susan Silk and Barry Goldman were the ones that invented the ring theory, or the kvetching rings. And it changed how I interact with people who are suffering, who are caring for the suffering so much, I felt led to share it. So I'm going to talk about it, and then I'm going to show you, because I got the diagram. Here's how it works. In the very center of these rings is the patient, the one who's sick or dying. They're in the center. They get the opportunity to whine and vent and cry and bitch and complain to anyone. Make sense so far? Just outside that circle in the next ring is the spouse or partner or primary caretaker. They get to bitch and complain and whine and kvetch to anyone who's in circles outside their own. Next circle is immediate family only, as long as you're close to them. They get to bitch and whine and complain to anyone outside their circle, but they do not get to whine and bitch and complain to anyone inside their circle, which is comprised of the patient and the spouse or primary caretaker. Next circle is extended family, or next circle is immediate or close friends. So innermost circle of friends, if you would. Those folks are going to tailor what they talk about based on whether they're talking with the husband of the sick person or a coworker who's several circles out. To the husband, hi Hillary, to the husband, they say nothing that could be qualified as complaining and everything that can be qualified as support. To anyone outside the circle, they can vent and complain all they want. The next circle is extended family and acquaintances. The next circle is coworkers. The next circle is looky-loos, including your grocer and your dry cleaning person who are wondering how the person's doing. And here's the simple way to remember. Comfort in, dump out. So when you are standing in front of somebody, remember what circle you're in, remember what circle they're in, and then you choose whether you get to dump or comfort. Let me give you an example. Ron is caring for his wife who's in the final stages of breast cancer. He is standing outside the hospital room, taking a well-deserved breather break, when Karen, a coworker of his wife's, comes up, visiting, has some flowers, and she wants to spend a little time with the wife. And Ron says, "Nice to see you, Karen." And Karen says, "Oh, Ron, you know, it has been so hard since your wife has been gone. You know, nothing gets done the way it did when she's around. It just doesn't run the same way. I'm crying almost every day." Karen needs to shut her mouth because she is talking to somebody 4 circles in from her. And the only things she should be saying are, "How can I support you? You're doing an incredible job. This must be so hard." Those are your options, Karen. She should be showing up with cookies and a hug, not telling Ron, who now feels burdened by the fact his wife isn't at work and things are falling apart, even though Karen was probably well-intentioned. She wanted him to feel like, we miss her. It's hard without her, and we get that. But those that are on the inner circles have enough to bear. They don't need to bear the weight of how your life is being negatively impacted by their tragedy. So I love this so much, I made a diagram, and here it is. Okay, ring theory. In the middle, we have patient, then spouse, immediate family, extended family, close friends, colleagues, and really extended friends, and then looky-loos, which are, you know them, the lady at church that comes up and goes, "How's she doing?" Who's never connected with her, never been friends with her. She just wants to gossip and know. So she's on the outside, the looky-loos. So again, if you are on an outer circle from the person you're talking to, comfort. How can I help? You are doing an incredible job. This must be so difficult. Let me sit and listen. If you are a sister or somebody who's not the primary caretaker and you're talking to a coworker, you get to dump. You get to tell them how hard this is, and they get to listen. So it's so simple, but it's so powerful, and I love it so much. So let's talk about, before we leave this, let's talk about some ways that you can comfort, because having been in this situation recently, you are grateful for anything anybody tries to do, but there are some things that work better than others. The one that I have the hardest time, thanks, Suzanne. Hi, Hillary again. The one that I have the hardest time with is this. Please let me know if there's something I can do. I'm exhausted. I'm cleaning out catheters and wiping up poop and watching my mother die in front of my face. I'm not going to have the time or wherewithal to come up with for a little task or job for you. I'm just not. That is the reality of it. So if you can take one thing away from this, please choose not to say, "Please let me know if there's something I can do." They will not tell you. They will not tell you what you can help with. But here's what you can do, is you can offer something specific. And you might have to lean in a little bit, because their first response is probably going to be, "No, that's okay. I don't want to they don't want to bother anybody. That's okay. I don't want to bother anyone." You might have to push just a little bit. "Let me come and do laundry for you." "Oh, no, no, really, I don't mind. I actually enjoy doing laundry. I can come on Tuesday. Would that work for you?" Give them the opportunity to just say yes or no. They don't have the space to think. Give them a yes or no question. So that's the most important one. Bring food is wonderful, but be respectful of food choices. I know somebody who was very ill and she got boatloads of food, which was very generous, that all went in the garbage because she was gluten intolerant, and nobody reached out to find out if she had any issues that way. Lovely gesture, could have been so much better because she could have actually been fed by the food. Pick up kids, do groceries, laundry, yard work, practical things that that are nice to do, but not need to do when you are a full-time caretaker. Think of those things, because those are great options to offer, and they're jobs kind of anybody can do, not jobs only they can do. The job that only they can do is portions of the caretaking, obviously, and those kinds of things. Now, you can offer to come and sit, come and read to the patient, spell the caretaker, say, look, go take 3 hours. I'm coming to sit, and I will make a meal and leave it here for you after while I'm kind of hanging out with your mom. Those were wonderful. We had a nurse downstairs, Hillary, actually, she reminded me a lot of you, from my mother's apartment, who she would just call and say, I'm coming up. I've got my glass of red wine and my book. I know your mom's sleeping, but why don't you girls get out and go do something? And she would spell us. It was amazing. So that's a great help. Now, write a note of encouragement, bring a gift. It's even more helpful if you know the caretaker or the patient really well and you know what their love language is. Target that. Write something, gift, words of affirmation. Those are really helpful. One thing to be cognizant of, don't take offense if inner circles from you don't respond to a text, don't want to take a phone call. It's easy to get offended after a while. And I actually ran into this because I pulled way in when my mom got sick. And I had a couple folks in my life who got a little irritated because I wasn't staying in close enough touch. I wasn't reaching out. And I understand. You want to help. You want to know what's going on. You want to pray. You want to be supportive. But there are moments in caretaking when you can barely put one foot in front of another. And, or as a patient, if you are going through cancer treatment, you just do not have the space to get on the phone and talk to anybody. I don't want to text anybody. And it's sometimes easy to get your feelings hurt. Put that aside, because they are just doing the best they can, and they will circle back when they feel ready to. So my mom's friend, I'm not sure what she was doing when she was lamenting broccoli casserole while I was telling her about my mom having weeks to live. Perhaps if she'd known about the ring theory, she might have been able to offer more support, because we can always go to that and say, who am I talking to and what circle am I in? So helpful. Hillary says many times the person is independent and don't want to bother anyone, so offering specifics would be ideal. Hillary is coming from a long background of understanding this kind of content, and so that's great advice. Something very specific, and guys, just do it. If you want to just go and do some yard work, just go do it and text them, and this works in most cases, not every single case, but in many cases, people will just be like, oh my gosh, thank you. I would never have asked you to do that. I'm so grateful. And we want to respect their privacy too. And so like I said about the texting and that they just can't reach out, there are other things we can do, like pop it a card in the mail, just let them know you're thinking. Texting, I got some beautiful texts while my mom was ill from some very surprising people. Who were just consistently kind of knew where I was at and were able to text and support in a way that was just so fulfilling. So I am glad to have shared this. I'm going to post the PDF for my ring theory diagram down below, because I think it's important, and sometimes I have to review it a little bit even for myself. But I am so thankful for Susan Silk and Barry Goldman for having come up with this. You know, sometimes it's the simplest things, right? And I'm grateful for you guys for listening. I am thankful for all of you guys who share and like and participate in the Junk You Should Know show. I hope you guys are all going to have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing you again next Friday at noon PST. And if you have comments or questions about this particular broadcast, please put something down below. Morgan, thank you so much. I know it's so, I wish I could take credit, but it's just such a good little lesson and good for us to learn early. So Morgan, share that with all your girlfriends. Okay, guys, have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you soon.